I found out at a bridal shower. Not my bridal shower. Hers. I was there because my coworker had invited me, totally out of the blue. Said her friend was getting married and needed bodies to fill the venue, and I had nothing going on that Saturday, so I said yes. I walked into that restaurant, saw the balloon arch, the little bride-to-be sash, the framed engagement photos on the gift table, and I stopped breathing. Because staring back at me from a 5x7 frame, grinning in a field of sunflowers with a woman I had never seen before, was the man I had been sleeping next to for 6 years. My hands were shaking so hard, I had to set down my mimosa before I dropped it on the floor. But let me start from the beginning. I met him at a work conference. Not my company, not his. One of those industry mixers where everyone's wearing lanyards and pretending to care about keynote speakers. He was standing near the coffee station looking slightly lost, and I made a joke about the terrible pastries, and he laughed. Really laughed. Not a polite conference laugh. A real one. We talked for 3 hours. Missed 2 panels. Exchanged numbers in the parking garage. He was charming in a way that felt effortless. Not flashy, not performative. He remembered small things, that I hated cilantro, that my mother's birthday was in March, that I'd mentioned once, offhandedly, that I wanted to visit Portugal someday. 2 months into dating, he bought me a travel guide to Lisbon. Just because. Within a year, we were living together. Within 2, we'd adopted a dog, a ridiculous golden retriever named after a jazz musician. Within 4, I was quietly, privately, starting to wonder why he hadn't proposed. He had excuses. He said he wanted to be financially stable first. He said his parents had rushed into marriage, and he'd seen how badly that could go. He said he loved me, and that the piece of paper didn't change anything. I told myself that was mature. That I was the kind of woman who didn't need a ring to feel secure. I told myself that for 6 years. And the whole time, he had one. Just not on my finger. Here's how it worked, and I want you to understand how carefully constructed this was, because this wasn't a slip. This wasn't a moment of weakness that spiraled out of control. This was architecture. He worked in a field that required frequent travel. 2 weeks away, 1 week home, sometimes longer. I had accepted this as the texture of our life together. I even liked it, honestly. I had my space, my routines, my dinners with friends without having to check in with anyone. When he came home, it felt like a reunion every time. I thought that was romantic. It wasn't romantic. It was a schedule. The woman in that photo, the one with the sash that said bride-to-be, lived in another city, 4 hours away. That's where he was when he was traveling, not always at a job site. Not always in a hotel. At her apartment. In their life. I found all of this out in fragments, the way you find out things that are designed to stay hidden. First the photo at the bridal shower. Then the coworker who invited me, who had absolutely no idea, going white as a sheet when I told her whose face was in that frame. Then the phone call she made on my behalf, because I was sitting in the bathroom, unable to form sentences. And then I found out why the engagement had been secret. Her family didn't approve of him. They wanted her to marry someone from her hometown, someone they knew, someone with history in the community. He had been promising her for 2 years that he was working on winning them over, that they would come around, that they just needed time. She had believed him. She had been engaged to him for 2 years before I even knew the other woman existed. 2 years. Of shared dinners. Of him helping me pick out living room furniture. Of him holding my hand at my father's funeral. He had stood at that graveside and held my hand, and gone home to plan a wedding with someone else. I sat in that bathroom stall for 20 minutes. Then I stood up, washed my face with cold water, walked out and found my coworker. I need his address, I said. The address he has on file from work. The one in the other city. She pulled it up without a word. I drove 4 hours that afternoon. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I just drove. He was home. His car was in the driveway, the same car I'd helped him pick out, the one I had a spare key for on my keychain. She was home too. I could see the lights on through the front window. I knocked. He opened the door. The look on his face, I have replayed it probably 1,000 times. It wasn't guilt, exactly. It was calculation. Even in that moment, caught completely flat-footed, his brain was running numbers. How much do I know? What's the play? Can I fix this? You need to let me explain, he said. I'm not here for an explanation, I said. I'm here because she deserves to know. And then I looked past him because she was coming down the hallway. Pretty. Soft-looking. Wearing a sweatshirt with their dog's name on it. They had a dog too, of course they did. And her expression shifted from curious to confused to something that hadn't found a name yet. Who is this? She said. Not a question. A statement. My name doesn't matter, I told her. What matters is that I have 6 years of lease agreements, joint bank account statements, veterinary records for our dog, and a drawer full of birthday cards with his handwriting in them. And I can show you all of it right now if you want to see it. He said my name. Low and careful, like a warning. I didn't look at him. I kept looking at her. She asked him if it was true. He started to speak, started that same sentence. Let me explain, and she held up her hand and he stopped. Just like that. She had a stillness about her that I recognized, because I had learned it too. You learn it when someone has been managing you for years. You learn to shut things down before they can spin you out. How long? She said to me. 6 years. She didn't cry. Neither did I. We just stood there in that doorway, two women looking at each other across the architecture of a very deliberate lie. I drove home that night. 4 hours back, the dog asleep in the backseat. I had packed him when I left that morning, some instinct telling me not to leave anything I loved in that apartment. Within 2 weeks, I had documented everything. Every joint account. Every lease. The credit card he was on as an authorized user. I removed him from all of it with one afternoon of phone calls. I was calm. I was so calm it frightened me a little, honestly. I think my nervous system had simply run out of the ability to be anything else. He texted. Relentlessly at first. He called. He sent long voice messages that I never played, just watched the timestamp tick up and deleted them one by one. When it became clear I wasn't responding, he switched tactics and showed up at the apartment. Once, I had already changed the locks, so he stood in the hallway and knocked for 10 minutes, and then he left. I found out through my coworker, who had become something like a reluctant investigative partner at this point, that the engagement was off. That she had given the ring back. That her family had found out the whole story, and there was fallout there too, that rippled outward in ways I didn't have full visibility on and honestly didn't need. What I did have visibility on was this: his company found out. I hadn't done that deliberately. But when you're trying to untangle 6 years of shared finances, you call HR about a shared health insurance plan, and sometimes conversations happen, and sometimes those conversations reach people they weren't intended for. I want to be precise here. I didn't call his employer to hurt him. I called to remove my name from a benefits plan he had listed me on. What happened after that was its own cause and effect. He was in a leadership position. He'd listed a domestic partner, me, on his benefits. He'd been billing hotel stays and meals to a corporate card in another city for 2 years. When someone started cross-referencing dates against his logged travel claims, the picture that emerged was not a good one. He resigned before they could fire him. I know this because he called me one last time, about 3 months after I left. I picked up, I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to hear it. Maybe I just needed the chapter to close with a real ending, instead of fading out. You destroyed my career, he said. I thought about that for a second. You had a lot of help, I said. And I hung up. That was the last time we spoke. People ask me sometimes, usually people who have heard some version of this story, friends of friends who have connected the dots. They ask me if I hate him. If I still think about it. The honest answer is that I think about her more than I think about him. Because she was lied to too. She thought she had a future with someone. She planned a wedding. She fought with her family over him. And she lost all of it, same as I did, through no fault of her own. We're not friends. We don't speak. But I don't think of her as a villain in this story, And I hope she doesn't think of me as one either. The dog is doing great, by the way. He's 7 now, a little gray around the muzzle, still absurdly cheerful. He has no idea any of this happened. Every morning, he wakes up thrilled to be alive, like it's the first good day he's ever had. I think about that sometimes. I think about how the capacity for that kind of joy, uncomplicated, unhistorical, just present, is something I'm still working my way back toward. I'm almost there. But I'm not going to tell you it was fine, or that I emerged from it wiser and grateful. I lost 6 years. 6 years of trust that was never earned, of a future that was never real, of a version of my life that was built on a foundation someone else had already poured concrete over before I even arrived. He didn't just cheat on me. He didn't just cheat on her. He built 2 entire lives, tended them both, let us both believe in them, and walked between them for years like it was nothing. Like we were nothing. And what I want you to understand, the thing that keeps me up sometimes, even now, is that he was good at it. Not in spite of being charming and warm, and present and funny. Because of it. Those qualities were the tools. The travel guide to Lisbon. The dog named after a jazz musician. The hand held at the graveside. All of it was real, and none of it was true. That's the part I can't quite put down.